Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. The season is near. Welcome into the first preview of the first game, Penn State taking on Nevada at 3:30 p.m. Eastern in West Shore home field in Beaver Stadium. That's going to be weird to say. We have some guest pickers coming on here in a little bit to predict the game with us and talk to us a little about practice, and we'll get into our picks a little bit later in the show. Thanks for being here. Make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening. Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. I'm Cory Shawn. With me, as always, the great Sean Kane. How you doing today, Sean?
Pretty good, Cory. Pretty good. I am ready for Saturday. I'm sure you are as well. And yeah, I can't wait to get this started. Also, YouTube TV and Fox came to a short-term deal. So that means I'll be able to watch games on Fox now.
That's good to hear. Yeah, they always seem to figure out the last second. There was one of those last year, too, that they ended up. I wasn't too worried about it, but that's very good to hear. You're not coming down for this game then, Sean?
I am.
Oh.
Yeah, this might be the only game I go to this year because the schedule breaks up. Right now, I'm not paying almost $400 to go to Oregon. Then the baby shower is FIU. I might come to Villanova, and then after that, really, we only play one game in October, and I'm going to be on baby watch then. So
are you?
I don't want to be too far away from
just coming up for the day.
Yeah, we'll be there. We'll probably get there around 11:30.
Okay, well, you know where we'll be if you're interested. Welcome to the show, everybody. We will have Zach Seyko from Locked On Penn State or Locked On Nittany Lions, his Penn State football podcast. He was at practice today, so I'm going to hold off on practice notes and what we heard from James Franklin this afternoon until Zach hops on the show. As he was there, he recorded it. He actually already got some practice film up on his YouTube channel there at Locked On Nittany Lions. And so we'll have him on the show in approximately 9 minutes. So don't feel like you're going to have to wait too long or we're burying the lead there. Some kind of important notes coming out of practice today. So take that for what you will. We will preview Nevada, which honestly we might be able to fit the preview in of Nevada in before the show or before Zach hops on. And then we will obviously get to have Zach do a couple of the pick'ems. I told him, he's got a hard cut at 8 o'clock. I told him not to necessarily worry if we don't do all of them because just maybe the more fun ones that we can have him do, such as the Texas, Ohio States of the world, et cetera, et cetera. So have him pick a couple games. Obviously, let him give us his score prediction. If he has a bold prediction, we'll do that. And we'll be off and running with our own predictions. So welcome into the show, everybody. Penn State takes on Nevada, the Wolfpack. Sean, Penn State's favored by 45 points. We don't know very much about Nevada. James Franklin even mentioned, actually, the head coach for Nevada even mentioned the same thing on Monday, that nobody knows anything about Nevada. They bring in over 50 transfers from the transfer portal. Even if you went and watched film on last year, you really don't know very much because their quarterback, Chuba Purdy, was injured with a double groin surgery. So you can't even go watch a ton of film on their quarterback, although there is some. And so we really have zero real expectations going into this. I will say this. I think the 45-point spread, if Penn State's able to cover that, I'll be very impressed. I think that's actually a very high spread, given we don't know anything about Nevada. And I think it's just for the first game of the year, maybe there's some sloppy tackling. I just find it hard to imagine that they win by 45. Just throwing that out there, maybe an early sneak peek at my prediction. But 45 seems like a lot for a season opener.
It is a lot, but I think Penn State right now is getting that respect for being one of the best teams in the country. At least that's the general feeling in throughout the nation that Penn State is going to be one of those teams last standing at the end come playoff time. So I think when you take that into account, when you take into account Nevada now, albeit with not much coming back, they weren't very good last year. A ton of turnover, a lot of unpredictability. They have to not to mention it's a long flight, which I think that was talked a little bit about how they have to. I think they have to refuel. Nevada coming in. So yeah, there's I think it kind of makes sense, but yeah, like it kind of reminds me too of like when Bama had Saban, and there'd be so many weeks where Bama didn't cover because their spreads were always absolutely insane, and they weren't. It's just hard.
Yeah,
it's just hard to get those covers when you're relying too on backups playing at least a third of the game.
Yeah, and I think yeah, because they could win 49-7 and it still not be a cover. Is I guess
Right.
what I'm trying to get at. I will say this about maybe. I will say this about Chuba Purdy. If Penn State thinks like they're just going to be able to sit back there and pin their ears back and go after him, I think they're going to be a little bit surprised. Like he's got some wiggle to him, and he's athletic. Like he throws a good ball on the run. Like I think this is for a couple different reasons, a potentially a good week one test for this Penn State defense. Athletic quarterback, and also like they do some fun things with motion in the backfield that will stress how well they know the Jim Knowles defense and know their own assignments. So I think this is. I'm not trying to like say that like Penn State's going to struggle or anything like this, but I think relative to like who else you could have in week one, the Missouri States of the world, I think this is a more competitive game than it's still a stepping stone to Oregon, right? It's the first step to Oregon, but I still think it's better than say a Villanova or Missouri State, a Eastern Texas A&M or whoever else that people are playing this week. So I think there's going to be some learning opportunities here.
Yeah, when you look at a guy like Purdy, not only does he have the pedigree being brothers with an NFL quarterback, he is good enough to be a Power 4 quarterback because he's been with Florida State, he's been with Nebraska, so he's good enough to play at a Power 4 level. I mean, I'm not sure how well he would play, with the Big Ten, in a Big Ten schedule or an SEC schedule, but he's good enough to cause some issues. And something, Cory, like just these first three games in general, being that I'm going to be doing a lot of the tweeting during the game, and then we're going to have our reviews. I think people are going to watch them and think that I'm really pissed off all the time. And that's not really the case. It's just I have higher expectations for this team. And with that comes with not putting around with these guys for a quarter and a half like we did with Kent State last year. Like, not going to be a happy camper because that's not good enough to do the kinds of things that we want to do.
Yeah, and we talked about this all the time, that these first couple games, like we're going to learn some things and see some potential orange flags, red flags that that they're going to have to clean up. And I think if there's any like massive red flags, like a couple years ago when we couldn't run the ball against Villanova, or we couldn't, necessarily move the ball against Delaware, like there's some concerns that came out of those first couple games in September, August, whatever you want to call it, that people maybe brushed off, but then when they face the Oregons, the Ohio States, the Michigans of the world, those are the games where you're like, yeah, I mean, this is kind of what we've seen the whole year, but we just kind of ignored it because we just thought it was a Villanova silly willy, not a big deal game. Like James Franklin said during his press conference, somebody asked about like how much do you show in week one, week two. I really do believe him when he doesn't really necessarily show this or show that, but they prepare for their opponent. Like, if they're not scoring points, it's not because they don't want to score points or they don't want to move the football. So we'll learn some things from these first three games, and I think we'll learn a little bit about our defense right off the bat.
So we're not going to just be running the bad plays this week.
No, we're not saving the touchdown plays for later. No,
we're only going to do the good plays against the Oregons, the Ohio States of the world.
That's
and
right.
Yeah, sure, there's a degree of quote unquote saving things. And I'm happy you brought up that quote from Franklin, because I kind of thought a similar thing. Because every year we're asked, like, the last game of the year, do you think they're saving something? And it's like, well, generally no. Could there be a play here or there where they like a matchup that they went over, in the summer, and maybe they're going to call it at a specific time? Sure, maybe, but it's not like the whole game plan's just going to change.
Other thoughts on Nevada, Sean?
Yeah, I think when you're a team like Nevada, if you want to pull an upset against the Penn State, you're probably gonna want to have cohesion, and that's one thing that Nevada just doesn't have with 54 new players. Like, it's very hard. Like, when you're looking for the recipe of an upset, or even just sticking around and kind of causing headaches, that's not really the way to do it. But one thing that I want to see is, are those assignments on Jim Knowles' defense? How are we going to hold up? Because this team plays with a lot of motion. Like we said, Purdy is a power 4 quarterback. And I don't want to see our guys getting fooled and giving up big plays. Think Tyler Ellison against Delaware in 2023. Although I don't really think he got fooled. I think he just got no, he did get fooled, actually. Yeah, he went in the wrong gap. So yes, he did. So yeah, he did miss an assignment. So that's the kind of stuff you don't want to see. And yeah, so that's really my general thoughts on them. I think, well, I'll save that for my official prediction. The rest of my thoughts.
Yeah, and I would just say too, like, if you go back to last year, Nevada played SMU very well, and so
yes,
say what you want about SMU, still a playoff team. And
Nevada kind of fell off at the end of the year.
Yeah, well, they played Boise State really well too, so they actually have some pretty common opponents with Penn State from last year that you wouldn't really. It's kind of funny, you wouldn't really expect that or think about that, but yeah, I mean they hung with SMU, and I think it was funny. Like, even their head coach had said something this week about, well, we just want to keep it close and we want to hang in there and give ourselves a chance. But it didn't come off defeated. But, like, to me, I'm just kind of putting it in that point of view. I'm like, it kind of comes off like you're really excited about. Someone even asked, which I think this is going a little too far, honestly. Somebody even asked about whether or not what else you could learn even in a loss, which I thought was funny. But hey, let's pause here because we have Zach Seyko from Locked On Nittany Lions waiting on stage. We're going to bring him in right now. Boom. Look at that. Look how much easier that is, Sean.
There we go. Yeah.
Welcome into the show, Zach Seyko from Locked On Nittany Lions. How are you doing, Zach?
Doing well. I was able to make it back in time. James Franklin wrapped up fairly early, or at least was punctual this time after practice. So it's nice to get back in the home studio and not have to do this remotely.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's looking fantastic over there. I feel like I'm just watching another one of your shows. So appreciate you joining us today, Zach. I think we kind of buried the lead a little bit because we were saying, hey, Zach was there. He was in person. We saw you already put up some film on YouTube already. So we have not spoke at all yet about practice today. There was a couple noteworthy things that we definitely want to talk about, but just what did you see today? What stood out to you?
I guess at quarterback and James Franklin reaffirmed this, that Ethan Grunkemeyer is QB2, and I think he has been leading up to this point, but it's not finalized. It's that this is just for week 1 only. It seems like this is a week-by-week case. I buy that from the perspective of you don't want to push Jackson Smolik out. If you declare that Ethan Grunkemeyer is QB2, which at some point eventually it's going to turn into QB1, then if Smolik doesn't view this as a QB battle anymore, then but that's, I want to focus on 2025. Just know that this is going to be a very strategic situation for Franklin and company, because there's not a lot of depth after Smolik, and so we'll see how that continues to unfold. Running back, there's a lot of them after Singleton and Allen. I did find it interesting that Cam Wallace was running with the reserves and had one of those. See, it's fun. It's fun to go to practice in the middle of the season, because it's like playing Where's Waldo, where
That's right.
because they have all these different, they have the Nevada jerseys on. If you're a scout team player, if you're a reserve, you're wearing the other team's jerseys, a Penn State jersey, but with that Nevada number. So for example, Jackson Smollick's running with the scout team. He's wearing 13 to be Chubba Purdy for the week. So his job is to learn Chubba Purdy and what he does and his tendencies, and basically act as him to help get Penn State prepared for Nevada. And this will go on week by week. So eventually Smolik will be Dante Moore for Oregon. And so at running back, Cam Wallace was with the reserves, which probably because of how serious, he had a very serious leg injury from last season. Quentin Martin's going to be that RB3 for now. So it's kind of the same thing on a week-by-week basis, where when all three of them are healthy, Corey Smith, Cam Wallace, and Quentin Martin, that is, I got to believe that Cam Wallace is running back number 3. So
yeah, we actually talked about that a little bit on Monday's show about who we thought RB3 was going to be. So when I saw today that Quentin Martin was running with the 1s and 2s, that was a little bit of a surprise, and definitely something that we're going to watch. I got to imagine these first 3 games, we're going to see all 3 of those guys quite a bit.
It's kind of a wait and see, just because, I agree. I just don't know how healthy Cam Wallace actually is. Franklin keeps referring to, hey, that group's dealt with bumps and bruises. Well, all 3 of them have been out there for the most part at these practices, except for one practice where actually all 3 of them were missing, which I thought was strange. But that's what he was alluding to. I just don't think that Wallace is truly 100, 110%, as I would not expect him to be. So it's kind of a situation where he's practicing, but by week 4, that bye week is when we're going to see, okay, will they unleash Wallace, which is going to be extremely important for Quentin Martin and Corey Smith to gain some ground, since even though Wallace isn't 100%, I see him as that 3rd best running back. He just continues to impress me, even at less than.
Yeah, I want to turn over to defense. Was Zariah Fisher there tonight?
So I mostly was spectating the offense, but I have my associate producer, Zane Bransfield, help me out with a lot of things on defense, and he confirmed to me that Zariah Fisher was not present at practice. So it goes back to, Sean, what you and I talked about over on my podcast, is that, hey, there is legitimately something here. You don't need Zariah Fisher week 1, week 2, week 3. You need him for Oregon, and this is great for Chaz Coleman. This is great for Yvonne Kemeju. But what is going on? Should we just assume the best? Right? Because in the middle of the summer, it was Zariah Fisher is that, someone you're not talking enough about. Khalil Dinkins, same thing. There's the offensive version of that and the defensive version. But then we got the impression that I guess he was healthy and ready to go based on what was said, and now that's not exactly the case. So what's going to happen leading up to this? I just hope there's not any lingering effects of that injury, but it would not shock me with not dealing with not 1 but 2 serious leg injuries in his career.
So let's just kind of get to the chase here. Is Chaz Coleman going to start on Saturday?
He's at least going to play 30 snaps, according to Franklin. If you want a direct quote, he ballparked it around 30 to 35 snaps. I don't think he'll be the immediate starter. That's probably going to be Jalen Harvey. If you wanted me to give a front 4, and Alonzo Ford is somebody that is dealing with a long-term injury that may or may not be 110%. So against Nevada, I expect Dennis Sutton and Zane Durant for sure. Jalen Harvey probably is the starting weak side defensive end where Abdul Carter was. And then it could be Xavier Gilliam. It could be Alonzo Ford. It would not shock me if Alonzo Ford is limited or maybe even doesn't play. But he's practicing, which is good. But so is Cam Wallace, right? Keon Wiley was practicing last postseason, but he didn't play. So even though those guys are practicing, I don't know. We just don't know that they're fully cleared since we don't get an official injury report, but it's something worth monitoring.
Interesting. Yeah, and again, it goes back to the same thing. If you don't need them right now, you know when you do need them, and that's why I'm just like, this is just a great opportunity for somebody like Chaz Coleman to just, take what is being offered, which is a starting role. And I'm really excited. If anything, I'm most excited to probably see him on Saturday, which 3 months ago wasn't even really thinking about the guy. I mean, it's just been an amazing the amount of momentum that he's been able to pick up over the last, call it, 4 weeks.
Literally 4 weeks. I mean, the development, the turnaround on Chaz Coleman is, I think it's unheard of. I haven't been covering Penn State football for as long as some others, but this is unprecedented to me. Deion Barnes was able to take Abdul Carter as a stand-up linebacker who had pass rushing tendencies into a hand in the dirt defensive end and help turn him into a top 3 NFL draft pick and easily the best edge defender in college football. Now you're seeing it again with somebody who was playing basketball, really wasn't heavily invested in football through. It's not like we knew about this guy for the longest time. No, he popped up on recruiting radars probably in the last 6 months of that cycle. Deion Barnes finds the talent, evaluates him, gets him to commit, holds his commitment because Ohio State was pushing. And then now, again, for somebody that just does not have a track record of football, he's now the 2 deep. We assume that he's the 2 deep player. So Deion Barnes, this timeline of Chaz Coleman is truly unprecedented. I've never seen or heard of anything like this before.
Makes you really excited as a Penn State fan because, I mean, obviously he still has some growing up to do from the actual position and just the sport of football, which just tells me from a just natural talent perspective, we could be talking about like special if he's be able to get on the field without necessarily honing in all those skills yet.
Yeah, and exactly. If you give him the tools, if you give him the guidance, what can he do? So, and we've seen already that he just responds so well. It's kind of almost, I mean, the comparison here, which is why I want to tread lightly, but it just seems, I guess Saquon Barkley's kind of like that. This guy was either misevaluated or something, where just a player that flew under the radar for that. I mean, he was committed to Rutgers. And then becomes the greatest.
Zach, they had too much depth for him, okay?
Yeah.
There's too much depth there. You gotta
So
remember that.
yeah, he was an afterthought for the Scarlet Knights. But he goes from being a middle of the road 4-star, if you will, kind of like Chaz Coleman, that okay, this guy he's just another defensive end in the rotation, and is now on the timeline of the track of being potentially a superstar and a comparable to Chop Robinson. Abdul Carter, I'm not going to go that far, but Saquon Barkley kind of had the same thing where this guy was, okay, an intriguing prospect, but then became a superstar. So I guess that's where it is comparable. Different positions, different circumstances, but those guys, I mean, Chaz Coleman is following that blueprint, if you will.
And I think where Penn State has missed on some 5-star guys they just did in this cycle, I think I think guys like Chaz Coleman lessen that blow because, all right, like you said, they're 4-star guys. Some services may even have them as 3-star guy, but then they get here and they play like 5-star players. So it really helps to soften the blow of some of these guys that we've missed out on.
And it's the same thing. I mean, let me bring in Antoine Belgrave Shorter here. Even though he's not a true freshman, he's a redshirt freshman and a guy that 3-star across the board. And I didn't realize. I thought Belgrave Shorter was had a little more respect in the recruiting industry, but he didn't. He was a little lower, significantly lower than. Oh, he was probably rated 92 or something like that. Nope. I mean, it's a difference of 5, but 87, 86. That rating, I was shocked when I went back to see that, hey, what did Penn State see here when he was a high school player? And now this guy's a starter. It shows that, again, coaching matters, system matters. Jim Knowles' system is just probably because who knows what Tom Allen ultimately had them doing and everything. He's just responded well to the change in defensive system.
One more thing I want to ask you about practice before we talk a little bit about Nevada and then maybe get into some of the pick'em. Wide receiver.
Yeah.
We can't go more than 15 minutes without talking about wide receiver as a Penn State podcast. Kobe Howard running with the ones and twos. I mean, I don't want to say it's similar situation as Chaz Coleman, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's in there for about 30-ish snaps or so. Does that sound about right?
It'll be interesting to see how much Kobe Howard does play in week one. I guess that's something I'm watching just because he's worried. It's just because James Franklin continues to say that he's not exactly a green light. They want to see some more on special teams. So when I do think, because you have the recent injury to Josiah Brown that we know about, wide receiver is in a much better spot. But one or two injuries could really change the outlook of this group, whether that's, I mean, people want to dunk on Liam Clifford, but then if Liam Clifford's not available, then all of a sudden everybody's going to be like, oh shoot, like this is a big deal. So, but I think of, particularly the transfers. We know that Devontae Ross has been dealing with bumps and bruises. It's an upper body injury from what, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to pretend to be one, but it is an upper body injury, particularly his arm. It's the way that it's wrapped up. But he should be a go at least, but they'll be cautious with how they utilize him. So, but like I said, if Kobe Howard, you don't want to if you want to be strategic with where you give him those reps, I say just go for it, and because of what we've seen at practice since the spring, just let him go, let him play, let him get the reps. I don't know why we're dancing around the fact of, oh, he's a yellow light, he's a green light. Just with what you need at wide receiver, just do it. Really, just do it.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that on Monday, that James Franklin, as straightforward as he was on the Monday press conference, it was very much coach speak to say that, like, oh, we're not sure about Kobe Howard because, he needs to contribute a little bit better on special teams. As if Kobe Howard, if he's a difference maker on offense, no one's going to care if he's blocking correctly on special teams. I thought that was the one thing that James Franklin, resorted back to coach speak for, which I thought was pretty good. Nevada, not great. 50 transfers come in. Not really sure what to expect from Chuba Purdy, as he's been sort of coming back from injury himself. Spread's sitting there right around 45, Zach. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling about this game? Do you think it's going to be as much of a walk in the park as Vegas thinks? And really, besides just trying to talk about who's going to win this game, what would you consider a win for Penn State as far as what you're looking for, or what maybe Penn State's hoping to get out of this game?
Well, now as we get more clarity as to what's going on again, watch, for Alonzo Ford, or again, watch for the availability of Zariah Fisher. Again, I'm not saying that Chaz Coleman can't hold his own, Yvonne Kemaju can't hold their own, but at this point in time, with where we are at week one, with true freshmen compared to Zariah Fisher, fifth, sixth-year senior, he's been around the program a lot, and if he were healthy, would be a significant step above where Coleman and Kemaju are now, respectively. Same thing goes for Jalen Harvey and Malachi Williams. We'll see them. Nevada's problem is that, yes, this team is completely different. And that number is even higher. James Franklin put it at 54. When I talked to, his name's Chris Murray. He's an insider covering Nevada. He said that number's over 60. There are 60 new players between transfers, freshmen. Wow. This team is basically, they were playing pick'em, or they were playing a fantasy draft with how they were putting the team together in rebuild for EA college football. When you have the consistency and the continuity that Penn State does, they should be able to destroy them. But then, okay, you want to get the freshmen, you want to get it, especially, even the the second-year player. So Anthony Specca, again, more reps for Antoine Belgrave-Shorter, more reps for Dejon Lane. How are they going to hold their own later in the game against Nevada? So if we're talking about it from a spread perspective, I'm starting to get, 45 is going to be pretty close. I said 63-7 initially. I wonder because I don't think Penn State's going to have any issues scoring points. But can they hold Nevada late in the game from that backdoor? I think Villanova almost had that backdoor cover a few seasons back where they ended up scoring 2 touchdowns. I could see a similar situation like that where Chubba Purdy stays in the game because they need to build chemistry. They need to build rapport. So they're not looking to cycle the backups in. The seniors, the juniors, the veterans are all going to be playing a full 4 quarters while Penn State's looking to get in the first and second year backups, probably middle of the third.
Yeah, that's a great point. We got about 12 minutes left here. But before we get to your prediction, and if you have a bold prediction, you can give us that as well. I just sent you over the pick'em. So if you want to fill this out later, we'd like to have the guests fill out the pick'em, and then we kind of keep track of the guests every week as the rest of our listeners. And we have a little bit of bragging rights to see where the guest pickers land up compared to the rest of the people listening. I'm not going to go through all the games because there's a lot this week. So I'll let you fill it out. But some of the ones that are a little bit more of a toss-up, Sean, I think we can talk about a little bit today and right now. The most obvious one, the one that probably everybody wants to talk about, Texas going into the shoe, taking Ohio State. Zach, just curious who you think is going to win that game and why.
I don't know why I see this one as more obvious than other people. The same thing that I'm saying about Penn State, Nevada, consistency and continuity matters. You are going up against the number 1 team in the country with 8 new starters, 2 new coordinators, and I'm referring to the Buckeyes. And may I add that one of those coordinators has not called plays before, in Brian Hartline. He's the wide receiver whisperer, and that's what he's great at. So can he call plays? I don't know. But you're going up against, I don't know where Texas stands in the top 5 as far as, hey, defense, are they number 1? Are they number 2? But they have a case to be number 1. And at a minimum, an absolute minimum, top 5, maybe even top 3. That's why Texas is a true national title contender for this season. Okay, well, it's in Columbus. It's a noon Eastern time kickoff, which is not ideal for Texas. I get that, but there is so much turnover for Ohio State. I didn't even mention first-year starting quarterback, and I get it. I think Julian Sayin will be really good this season, but not necessarily in week 1, going up against what Texas has with that super elite defense. Arch Manning he's a new starting quarterback, but he's been in the system longer. He's not dealing with a new offensive coordinator, a new play caller. I agree with the people that have said that Texas wins decisively or Texas is winning by at least a touchdown, maybe even double digits. I think the Longhorns they'll have issues early on, but not late. I think in the second half they'll settle in.
Zach, I don't even have to say anything about what I think because you just nailed it. I think Texas wins, and I think the pass rushing is what's going to be the difference. I think Texas is just going to get after Ohio State, and it's just going to be too much for a brand new quarterback. So I have Texas winning as well. Sean, I think you might be taking Ohio State.
Your co-host, I am. Although Zach's explanation almost convinced me to take Texas. I'm kind of, and I hear what you're saying. I do. It's just Ohio State's at home. I'm taking that into account. Jeremiah Smith still plays for them. Caleb Downs. I'm not as sold on Arch Manning as it seems like everybody else in the world is. I'm just like, well, he couldn't beat out Quinn Ewers last year, and Quinn Ewers was a 7th round draft pick. So why are we so convinced that he's the second coming? So I'm going to take Ohio State. I don't feel awesome about it, especially after Zach really burst my bubble there. But, I'm going to take Ohio State close.
Okay. A couple other ones real quick, Zach. Ohio Rutgers. I just want to give you the opportunity if you want to see if Rutgers will get upset by Ohio.
I don't know too much about Ohio, unfortunately. I mean, Rutgers is still a Big Ten team. I trust if Greg Schiano had more help, more resources, I do think he would be a much more respected coach. So give me the Scarlet Knights at home. I just don't think Ohio has enough to be able to pull off that upset.
Nebraska at Cincinnati. It's technically a neutral site game. Nebraska, I think, is favored by 7-ish.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that one? How are you feeling about Nebraska as a whole?
That one's a surprise to me, honestly. That speaks to how good Cincinnati is, or that maybe people aren't giving Cincinnati enough credit. I guess you could say the same thing about Nebraska. Maybe they're not being given enough credit. I like Matt Rule a lot. I think Matt Rule's objectively one of the best coaches. Again, a lot of coaches are ranked based on the system and the support that they have. But if you give somebody the same deck of cards to work with, some people are going to be able to work with it better than others. So like a Billy Napier with all that he has at Florida, and he continues to just disappoint. Imagine if you gave Matt Rule the same thing. He's turned around Temple. He's turned around Baylor. Okay, so at some point, I think Nebraska is going to ultimately have that breakthrough, and maybe it's this season. They'll be a stronger team in the second half. I think that game's close. I'll still take Nebraska just because Matt Rule's a darn good football coach. I like Dylan Raiola enough, and they gave him some weapons. He has some people to throw to.
Sean, I think you're going to go with Nebraska for that one, so I'm not going to ask you. Northwestern versus Tulane, Zach. I believe Tulane is favored by 6.5-ish.
Yeah.
I think that line maybe has moved a little bit. But Big Ten team underdog here. What are your thoughts there? You think Northwestern can pull an upset?
Yeah, Northwestern being the underdog. So Tulane as that group of 6 school, or at least they're kind of the face of the group of 6 conferences. Northwestern's kind of the same thing. It's so much of a different team. They're on the road. I do that ESPN college pick 'em every single week. I picked Tulane a long time ago, and I don't think I'm going to change it either. Same thing with Northwestern. They're breaking in a new quarterback. They're breaking in a relatively new roster. Whereas Tulane, for the most part, I know they change quarterbacks, but for the most part, they've kept it together. So maybe Northwestern can cover with the spread moving the way it is, but I still think Tulane would win.
Gotcha. One more for
Green Wave too.
Yeah, I'm with Tulane as well. One more for you. Utah, UCLA. I think that one is one at least I'm a little bit more curious about. The Big 12 is, who knows who's going to win that. Utah could obviously be in the running there. I am a little bit more nervous about UCLA than some other people are as far as Penn State playing them. How do you see that one shaping out? I want to say, again, Utah's maybe like a 7-point favorite-ish.
Yeah, give or take. So I'm, having some of these games open on ESPN just to get, a better idea of where maybe the analytics stand and everything else. Utah has a lot of unknown because they're changing quarterbacks. I know that confidence is high in the changes that they made. I'm still going to default to, especially early in the season, Kyle Whittingham is a significantly better coach than Deshaun Foster at this given moment. Nico Iamaleava, how does he fit in with a completely different system at UCLA? And all the stuff that went on with, I think that stuff does matter to an extent that you kind of have to build some trust. You just abruptly left the program and we don't have all the clarity around there. Utah's just that tough, hard-nosed football team. I'm just going to side with Utah's just the better system, better coaching staff. And UCLA will get better as the season goes on, too. I think Foster's he's only getting started. He's not finished.
Yeah, I think that's a safe and probably the correct pick. But I'm going to take UCLA for the hell of it because I just want to believe in something. Just want to believe in something.
The Utes, too, but I also like UCLA. I think Corey and I both like UCLA a little bit more than the average bear. But I thought Foster did a good job with that team last year because really they could have only won 1 or 2 games and it wouldn't have shocked me. And they were in most games and they ended up winning, 5? Mm-hmm. Maybe only 4, but it felt like they were in every game. 5, okay.
All right, well, we got a couple minutes left here. Zach, I sent you that link over if you want to fill out the entire pick'em. I think we already have like 65-something people submitted this week, so we'll see where you stand up to Zach and his picks. It's always fun the first couple ones because you can kind of start seeing where people are going to start ending up, who's going to be more riskier and not riskier. Penn State, Nevada, 3:30 Eastern on Saturday. Zach, who do you have winning? What's your score? And if you have a bold prediction of any kind, not to put you too much on the spot, we'll take that as well.
I think the bold prediction is that Penn State's just going to have no problem offensively scoring points against Nevada. I said 63-7, and I will stand by that, even though I'm starting to get some ideas that, hey, maybe Nevada scores a few more points than anticipated. Just because if you want something to bet on, Penn State first half. Penn State first half spread. That's the appropriate thing to, strategic wager, if you will. Because like I said, if Chubba Purdy's under 5 minutes, fourth quarter, and it's Penn State's third string linebackers, defensive ends. It's their starting offensive line. At some point, that's the dam's going to burst. So there is a chance that they could potentially get that backdoor cover if Penn State doesn't score enough. I mean, I like Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen to each have 100 yards on the ground, maybe even more. If Cam Wallace or Corey Smith aren't ready, they're working with the scout team. Those guys are going to get a lot of run against a Nevada team that's really not good against the run. So maybe they even have 300 yards collectively together, the two of them.
Okay, we'll be on the lookout for that. Zach, I know Sean was on there. Thank you for coming on here. I'll be on there next week with you. Yep. Looking forward to it. Enjoy the I love the beginning part of the season. Everyone's so optimistic. Enjoy week 1, my friend.
Same to both of you. Corey, yes. Can't wait for you to return the favor over on my podcast. So appreciate the time here today and later in the week.
Absolutely.
Right.
Until next time, Great. Zach. Thank you.
Be well, guys.
Thanks, Zach.
Can we just pause for a second and talk about how much easier our new streaming platform is?
I know. Yeah, it's awesome.
Just amazing.
It used to take Corey like 2.5 minutes just to crop them.
Yeah.
And
it was so much more time for drinking. Again, that was Zach Seyko over at Locked On Nittany Lions. Does very well over there. Does a great job also with the practice stuff too. So the practice notes he has are fantastic. Brian Baker gave us a little bit of love there. Said the 3 Titans of Penn State covered. So I thought that was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Mark Thomas dropped a comment on YouTube as well. A little question for us: over under 4.5 different wide receivers catching a pass on Saturday. And it says over. Receivers, not tight ends.
It's receivers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably still going to take receivers. I think they try to spread the ball around. So I could probably name them: Pena, Hudson, Ross, Liam, Denmark.
Okay.
Denmark.
I want to say no, right? Because I think the tight ends will be involved, the running backs will be involved. I really want to say no to this. But also, knowing how James Franklin is and how vindictive he is, he's been listening and hearing for how long that we didn't have a catch. Receiver didn't have a catch against Notre Dame. You know he's going to, if he has the opportunity, the receivers are going to catch as many balls as possible. So you could probably put that over-under at 9.5. And Franklin would have still tried to beat it if he's watching the podcast tonight. So, yeah, I'm going to go over as well. But I think the right answer is under. But just because I think James Franklin is a little bit of a smartass, I think he might try to show everybody that the receivers are for real right from the get-go. Just because he likes doing those kind of things.
Don just got there 2 weeks ago catching balls.
Yeah, he'll have everybody out there.
Right receiver screen.
Donnie also on YouTube said, if I recall correctly, Nevada had a bunch of close losses last year. Yeah, they did. They played really well against a lot of teams. They just couldn't get the job done. Before we get to our stuff, Sean, I wanted to say one more thing. Make sure to do your pick'ems, by the way, if you haven't already. I think we literally are right around 60, submissions for week 1. So that is a new record. So we appreciate you guys. Get your pick'ems filled out. I'll figure out what we want to do for gifts this year, for winners or prizes. We'll get that taken care of. Again, I'll be on Zach's podcast next week, and so we'll get that taken care of as well. That's what I was going to say. I think I just need to get this out of the way to start the year. I don't hate Liam Clifford, to be very clear. Zach, said something, and then you were laughing, and I was like, I'll just own it. Because we both watch Blue White Illustrated, and they make a lot of jokes and saying that, a lot of people don't like Liam Clifford, and Zach or Sean Fitz went as far as saying that Liam Clifford is the new Tyler Elston. That is not fair to Liam Clifford. That is, in my opinion, a very disrespectful insult to Liam Clifford. Tyler Elston is 6 feet below Liam Clifford and then buried in 5 more feet of dog shit. Tyler Elston is not anywhere close to Liam Clifford, to be very clear. And I don't think Liam Clifford's amazing, obviously. You guys know that. But Tyler Elston was awful, terrible. he was not like a scapegoat. Like, he was actually awful. And yes, do I think Liam Clifford is a playmaker or a game changer? No, I don't. But he can line up correctly. He knows the plays, and he's a decent blocker. Tyler Elsdon couldn't line up correctly. He would take the incorrect first step all the time. He would constantly run into the wrong gap. And if he happened by accident to run into the correct gap and find the ball carrier, he would miss the tackle anyway. So I don't think it's fair to say that Liam Clifford's the new Tyler Elsdon, because I don't think that's remotely the same. And I think a lot of people agree with me on this. All I'm saying is, if Liam Clifford is a big part of this offense, we are struggling. That's all I'm trying to get at. I'm not saying he can't be out there because they need someone who knows the routes and need someone to block for Kobe Howard. That's fine. But if Liam Clifford is averaging 5 catches per game, then something terrible has happened.
Can Liam Clifford average 5 catches per game? Serious question. I'm not being a wise guy. Yeah, I think I heard Fitz say that too, and I think what he may have meant is he's just the new guy that everybody blames everything on.
Probably.
But you know something, Corey? When Tyler Elsdon was in the game, Penn State would just their defense would get much worse. Like, I remember
he's literally the reason they lost to Ohio State in what year was that? Drew Allar's first year, so 2022. Was that year? When Henderson had the long
2022.
Yep. Tyler Elsdon was in the game.
Yeah, like it was literally like, and I remember last year where he didn't play much, thank God. He randomly got in big moments against USC late in the game. And I remember yelling at the bar, "Get Tyler Elsdon out of the game."
Right.
Where Liam Clifford is not that much of a liability. No. And I think that's what you're getting at. Like, when Liam Clifford's in the game, it's not like everything just goes to poop. Right. You just know he's not going to be much of a factor in the passing game. He's just
if I'm a free safety and I see Liam Clifford in the game, I'm immediately shading over to the other side of the field.
Yes, so I'm not saying it's everything's great, but like we scored a lot with Liam Clifford on the field. It's just the problem is when you get against those better opponents, it's not ideal to have him out there in big moments. And I think that's what you're saying. And I think that's the general opinion of a lot of Penn State fans, and I think that's a fair one.
Right. Donnie agrees with you. He says he thinks Fitz just meant that Clifford is a new Elsdon according to the comments on the message board, which is probably fair. But even then, I would argue the comments on the Blue and White Illustrated message board, the people commenting there need to understand there's a massive difference between the two. And it's not even fair. Like, Tyler Elsdon, we should honestly have a new award at the end of the year called the Tyler Elsdon Award. Like, who was the person for why we didn't win a national championship? You know what I mean?
That's a bold one that we would not have been able to do at the college sports.
The college
Mercury
sports company.
College sports company, yes.
No, probably
that would not have been approved. but who knows? Maybe we will.
And you know what? We've been doing this for 4 years. I have never been that brutally honest about anybody, but man, he stunk. Anyway, this is not.
He was bad. Yes, he was.
It's amazing.
But Jonathan Sutherland was really good compared to him.
God, I forgot about Sutherland. Yes, I would say that. Like,
Sutherland was a liability.
Yeah, he actually had a knack for the football somewhat.
Yeah, he did some good things. He was great on special teams.
Yeah, Tyler Elsdon. Yeah. Anyway, this is not turning into the Tyler Elsdon bashing show, but it already kind of has. This is what happens when you play Nevada week 1. I don't even know where I was going to go from there.
Kind of came out of left field. I was surprised too.
Well, I just want to.
I'm kind of happy. I'm kind of happy we cleared the air on it, though.
Right, and then we're good for the rest of the year on that. So I'm glad I got that out of the way. Okay. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we get into our picks?
No. I think I'm ready to make some picks. Let's do it.
Okay. Sean, by the way, moving forward, let's not blur your screen. You've just been a little bit more robotic tonight. So I probably won't remember to text you that later. So I'm just going to be unprofessional and tell you on the pod while everyone's listening. But just
Yeah, that's the thing. I can't see myself for everybody watching.
Oh, you still can't see yourself. Okay.
I cannot see myself at all.
It's okay. You look great. You look fantastic. All right. I went first with the season prediction, the actual pick. So I'm going to make you go first with your game pick today. How about that? And why don't you throw in your bold prediction at the same time?
Sure. So Penn State's a better team than Nevada. Penn State might have the best team in the country. Time will tell. And they're going to win this football game. I don't think that's any surprise to anybody, including probably the players on Nevada's football team from how their coach has been talking a little bit. So yeah, just a giant mismatch. I think Penn State wins it. I think Penn State covers. Kind of see the game going a little bit like Zach saw it. I do think Nevada scores some points, not a ton, but I could see a blown assignment or two leading to some points. Maybe one, they get to the house, then the other one gets them in the field goal range. So I have them scoring 10 points, but I have Penn State scoring 59. I think the offense I think the offense looks pretty good on Saturday. I think they move the ball pretty much at will. Nevada did not have a good defense last season. I'm not expecting them to have much of a good defense this year. Like, that's the one thing that I don't think we're going to get a ton from. I don't think we're going to learn a ton about the offense per se, especially when you consider the receivers did fine last year out of conference. It was in conference when you started to see the warts pop up again. So I don't think you're going to learn a ton about the offense. We already know we can run the ball really well, but I think, there's not going to be as many brain farts necessarily, but I think you could see one or two on defense just with the nature of the defense being a new one. So Penn State wins 59-10, and I'll say Chaz Coleman grabs himself a sack in his first game.
Sorry, let me write this down here. Sean, starting off the year with a not very bold prediction.
Oh, come on.
Coleman.
Guy's never played before. He's going to get a sack.
Okay. I kind of agree with you guys as far as the scoring of Nevada. I have them winning 49-7, which I gave away earlier, which I didn't mean to. I kind of feel like I want to go to 49-14 now, but then I do feel like they would win by more than that, but I don't think they're going to score more than that. So I don't really know how I feel, but I feel like 49 is not enough, and I also feel like 7's not enough. So now I don't like my pick at all, but I'm going to stick to it anyway. 49-7, Penn State wins, and my bold prediction, why I was teasing you, Sean, about your bold prediction, and I already had this written down before the show, I swear. I have Chaz Coleman with 2 sacks.
Oh, wow, we're both thinking the same thing.
Yeah, but I just completely
sacks.
Prices Righted you. Yeah,
that is more bold than mine. Can't lie.
It is. It's twice as bold.
Yes, it is. I will concede on that.
I thought you would. I thought you would like that. As soon as you said that, like, man, that's going to be perfect. So that worked out very, very well. Sean, before we get out of here, we haven't talked. We have Labor Day on Monday. I was thinking maybe we do maybe a Sunday earlier show, or we do a Monday night show. I don't know what you're thinking of Labor Day and all that.
Yeah, I think Sunday night I might have a fantasy football draft, but I could do Sunday morning. I think I'm available.
Okay. Let's say we'll table it and then maybe do Sunday morning or Monday night. Does that sound like a plan?
That sounds good. Yeah, I'm not doing anything Monday night, so yeah, sounds like a plan, man.
There you guys have it. Please, if you haven't already, make sure to like the video and subscribe. Whether you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed if you're watching on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And do me one more favor. This is a free show. We're on our own again. Drop us a 5-star review somewhere. Drop us a 5-star rating on Spotify. Share the podcast with just one Penn State friend. We've gotten a lot of support since we've started up in the last couple of weeks. We really appreciate it. We want to keep the ball rolling. So thank you guys so much. And we will be back after Penn State hopefully is 1-0. That's Sean Kane. I'm Corey Listogi. You've been listening to Hardcore Penn State Football. Until next time, see you later.
Night, everybody.